Welcome back, comic book collectors and enthusiasts. My name is Brandon. You're watching M.O.N.Comics. Hey folks, happy Friday. Another week gone by, another video made. This one was particularly a special video to make. Twice a year in a little town called Bouckville, New York, which is about 8 minutes from me. I've talked about it in previous videos. They have an antique show. They have some antique shops there that are there throughout the whole year and are just open all the time, but they don't really have much in the way of comics all the time. And if they do, it's stuff I don't collect. But twice a year, they have an antique show. The first one is in spring. This year was from June 2nd to the 4th. And then there's another one that's a whole week in August. And they have a ton of vendors from all over the Northeast and tons of good food trucks. I mean, you can definitely make a couple days out of it. So I was able to finagle some time. The wife was able to watch the kids for a bit Saturday. I called up my best friend in the world, Dan, and I said, come help me hunt for some comics. It was nice to have a second set of eyes looking for long boxes. I just told them to keep your eyes out for comic long boxes. Then when you start going through them, here's the titles I'm looking for. So it was really nice, really helpful. It was beautiful weather. So I got out there and I hunted some comics. And unfortunately, I thought I made a video of me talking when I got out there first, but I didn't. So I'm going to just show you some of the great footage I got of this antique show. And there's quite a few dealers. The one in the fall is a lot more. There's over 1,000 dealers. But this one isn't as big, but it still was great. And there's a lot of comics. So here's a clip for you all to watch. right, so that was the Bouckville Spring Antique Show in Bouckville, New York. As you can see, I found some awesome comics and some other stuff as well. The first being, I know you might have seen the Frank Frazetta picks. Frank Frazetta is renowned as the godfather of fantasy art. I've always loved his art. He's a fellow New Yorker. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. And he's noted for his work on some albums, in particular doing The Death Dealer on Molly Hatchet. I'll put a picture of it up here. It's fantastic art. I saw it painted on a Camaro once. It was so 80s. It was amazing. And then he's also done work on comic titles such as Tales from the Crypt, Land of Terror, and he also pretty much redefined Conan the Barbarian artwork. So he's a huge, huge person in the fantasy art world. And out of all the prints that I saw, this one rang the most true to me, the one that I wanted the most. It is his version of the Headless Horseman. Growing up, I've always been a huge fan of Halloween. My whole family is. My wife, my kids are getting into it. But I grew up with a lot of the Disney Halloween shows. One of them was a dual show. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it, of Mr. Toad and then the story of Ichabod Crane. And I loved this animation. I loved that Bing Crosby narrated it and did the songs for it. And the Headless Horseman was just one of my favorite characters growing up, and it stuck with me. So I had to get this one. I'm not sure if these are mass reproduced. I really didn't ask the guy about the provenance of these, but I didn't care. They were at a great price, and I decided to pick it up to have it framed and add to some of our spooky collection of artwork we put up in Halloween. It'll probably hang in this room until Halloween comes. It'll make its way out into the main living area where other stuff does not live throughout the year. So very cool, very awesome Frank Frazetta piece. Very happy to add this piece of art to my collection. All right, now let's get to some comic books that I found. I was very, very pleased with what I got for how much I got it for. Some of the titles I found I couldn't believe were over there, so I'm very grateful I got them. So without further ado, here's the books I got. The first set of books I picked up, this gentleman had a lot of newer books, but he did have these 80s books, and it is the limited series of Rocket Raccoon. I said I've been on a kick for some Guardians of the Galaxy character books. I just got the first appearance of the High Evolutionary. This is the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon in his first solo series. So it's a four-part solo series. This entire series was written by Bill Mantlo, and the cover art was done by Mike Mignola, who I'm a huge fan of Hellboy fame. So there is issue number 1. Number 2, I have not read these yet, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see how close or far off Rocket is from, the movies that he is to the comic books. Number 3, awesome, awesome cover art. And number 4. So I saw these, I couldn't pass them up. I asked the gentleman what the price was, and he said today only $8. So for $2 a piece, I got the Rocket Raccoon first limited series, his first appearance in a solo series. Couldn't pass that up. They're probably mid-grade, but that's okay. Just for the collection, I'm happy. Let's swing on over to some DC for the next book. I saw this book, and it's been on my radar for a bit. I said my dirty little secret in my last video is I enjoyed the first Suicide Squad. I like the second one as well. Pretty much all comic movies. I was able to pick up Suicide Squad number 1 from 1987, written by John Ostrander and cover art by Howard Chaykin. Really high grade. This book is sharp. I can't find a spine tick on it. Clean all around. No corner damage or bumps. It's just a beautiful book. So members in this iteration include Amanda Waller, the Browns Tiger, Deadshot, Enchantress, Mindboggler, Plastique, Rick Flag, and a couple others. And they're fighting against, this has the first appearance of the Jihad, which is comprised of Chimera, Jin, Jakuli, Manticore, Raven, and Rustam. So haven't got a chance to read this yet, but love this black cover, and it is such in good shape. It is so sharp. So really happy to get this this book in such a great grade. The next book I picked up is one that there is a TV show based on that I want to read this first and then watch the TV show because it hasn't been spoiled for me. But it is Doom Patrol number 1 from 1987, written by Paul Kupperberg and cover art by Steve Lytle. And it is the first appearance of Doom Patrol, Celsius, Robot Man, and Tempest. Probably a mid-grade book. Again, this was cheap. It was like $3 or $4. So I was very happy to pick up another DC book that I wanted to read, and then so I get to really read this first and then watch the TV show and make some comparisons about how close or far off they are. So very cool. Doom Patrol 1987 #1. So these next books I got all from the same seller, and also the Suicide Squad I got from him as well. This was a booth set up by Bruce King, and his friend John was there. Bruce owns Yesteryear Collectibles and Antiques up in Syracuse, New York. So I have his card and his number so I can get a hold of him. Awesome, awesome guys to talk to. John actually has the entire ASM run 1 through 100, and the first 33 are graded. So it's really interesting. I talked to him a bit. I'd love to go. I talked about coming up and visiting him and maybe seeing his collection. So that might be an opportunity for the future. But they're really great guys. And, you know, the more books I bought, they said the more you bought, the better we're going to give you a break on. So I was very happy because this was the best booth I found at the entire antique show. So I bought some books there. I found these other books, and then I went back, and that's when I found some even better books that I hadn't seen the first time, just because I was kind of in awe. Because, again, I'm middle of nowhere. I go out. I don't get to go out and see these things often, you know. I mean, the closest antique shops that are in Bouckville really don't have comics. I order a lot of them from, you know, the mail, and there's just not this opportunity to see these kind of books at good deals. So the next book I got from John and Bruce was Brave and the Bold 79 from 1968, written by Bob Haney. Cover art, I've wanted more of it, and I got it, by Neil Adams and also Gaspar Saladino. And it features Batman and Deadman. It's an early Deadman appearance fighting Kubla Kane and Max Chill. But just really, I've got, you know, now I've got the Brave and the Bold with Spectre and Batman. Now I have Deadman and Batman. And again, I'm picking up any Justice League Dark character books I can because I'm a fan of them. So it was really cool. I got that in the deal with these guys, and as well as some other books that are just heating up as I go on. So on to the next one. Another character from the Justice League Dark, and one that I'm a fan of and have this first issue. This is the Demon #14 from 1973. Written and cover art by Jack Kirby. If you remember me talking about the Demon in the first one, DC put him onto Supernatural titles. Because they really wanted him, they wanted to develop a Supernatural title that was a success. Kirby was not really thrilled about it, but they found a hit in this one. So this one is the first appearance of Jason Blood's doppelganger, which is created by Clarion the Witch Boy, which you see right here. There's a couple demons, but I just gravitated towards this cover. It was in nice condition, and happy to add more demon. Might be another side quest of going after the demon run, but another Justice League Dark character added to the collection. Very cool. What would a M.O.N.Comics video be without Fantastic Four? He had quite a bit. There was some lower number Fantastic Four that just weren't in the condition I was looking for. The ones I got are in rough condition, but I could look past it for what they were. So the first one was Fantastic Four, #29 from 1964. You can see what I mean. Chipping, damage to the spine. This is probably about a 1.5 to 1.8. But it is important because it's the first cover appearance of The Watcher. Haven't had a chance to read the story yet, so I'm excited to get into it. And it is #29, so now I have 2 books in the 20s for Fantastic Four. Of course, written by Stan Lee and cover art by Jack Kirby. And just saw this, and I had wanted this for a while. I loved the half cosmic cover with the Watcher. And the Watcher's first appearance is in Fantastic Four 13, and that's, of course, super expensive. Any books where he's on the cover of Fantastic Four 48, that one's going to be a tough one to get, but was really pumped to see this as I was flipping through, grabbed it up right away, and bundled it in. And the only other Fantastic Four book I got was Fantastic Four from 1970, which is a key. It was written by Stan Lee and, of course, covered by Jack Kirby. It is the first appearance of the Monocle, who is a spy. And I haven't gotten too far into this, but he's trying to start World War III for some other countries that would find it profitable, so he tries to take out the Fantastic Four. But, again, some issues up here, some staining. Spine issues, the cover presents well. So I really, there was other Fantastic Four. I had some. Now it's getting to the point of where I have a lot of the stuff I'm finding either online in the wild. So I'm hyper focusing on what I can afford, what I can scratch off my list. And I was very happy to pick up #29 and 95. The last book is my favorite. I've wanted this book for so long, and I found it when I went back to their booth and was flipping through. I didn't see it the first time, and there was someone there digging as well, and he had a whole stack. He knew these guys had the good stuff too. And I found it, and then I put all the books together, and I said, what can you do for these? And they gave me a phenomenal deal on it. It is just a book that I've talked about wanting on my channel, and to go with some other monster stuff, but it is Marvel Spotlight number 2. First appearance of and origin of Werewolf by Night. Written by Roy Thomas, Gene Thomas, and Jerry Conway. Cover art, again, another Neil Adams cover art, and Tom Palmer. So this features 2 stories. One is Night of the Full Moon, Night of Fear, which talks about Jack Russell, who is a werewolf by night. Talks about how he comes to become a werewolf on his 18th birthday. He starts to turn, and his mother, goes out to look for him. I just skimmed over it, and she gets in a car accident, and his stepfather has some nefarious plans for Jack, but he makes it to his mom before she dies. She tells him that she would have been with a man in Transylvania that was a werewolf, and that he is cursed too. And really cool origin story. The other story is a reprint from Venus 16, where gargoyles dwell. And I haven't read that one yet, but you could see he estimated about 1.5 to 1.8. It is completely attached. There is, some missing down here, chipped off down here. But the most important part is the trade dress to me and the werewolf art of his transformation. I love that transformation scene. I mean, werewolves, whether it's defined in literature or movies, it's all about the transformation scene. American Werewolf in London is my favorite werewolf movie, and I think it's the best werewolf transformation scene ever. And in this book, I just love how it shows it on the cover and on the inside. So there is a signing of Roy Thomas at CGC coming up right now. I may submit it. But regardless, it is going to go right up next to Man-Thing up here. I said I wanted a Werewolf by Night and possibly a key to remind me of how much I loved the Disney Plus special that they did. And I accomplished that with this. I couldn't believe I got this book. So for all these books you see here, which I was very, very thrilled to pick up, I was able to get for a little more than $150. And there are some great keys in here, from Rocket's first solo series to the Suicide Squad and the first cover appearance of The Watcher, first appearance of the Monocle, and of course Werewolf by Night's origin story. I was just really, really pumped to get this. So Werewolf by Night, Marvel Spotlight too. So I was very, very grateful. I had a great time at the show. It was awesome. I found a lot of comic books there, but these guys had the goods. And I can't wait till August. I might take a couple days off from work because there's so much. It's really overwhelming to go through and try to find it all. So that was this week's Antique Show, Bouckville, New York Spring Show. So a couple videos back, I had shown an X Factor book that I had gotten from a seller on Whatnot. So immediately I was reached out to by John, who is the host / creator of What's on the Comic Rack. Just a fantastic guy. We had a great conversation. I love his videos. His editing skills are fantastic. So shouting him out, go check out John's channel. And then I get a package like a week later, and he had sent me a bunch of X Factor books because I mentioned I thought I'd like to start reading the series. So John, out of the kindness of his heart, sent me some awesome, awesome books. I love this cover on this last one. Apocalypse, and then what would be, sending me some books without the Predator. So Predator versus Magnus Robot Fighter. So again, this community, I just can't say enough about how amazing everyone is. John, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I have your address now. I'm going to send you something cool to thank you. But really, it took me by surprise. I got the package, and I usually know what mail's coming, and I was like, what? Well, I didn't order this, and then when it put 2 and 2 together. So John, you're a class act and a really good asset to this community. So thank you, man, for sending these. I appreciate it. I will pay it forward for sure. So that's what I got for this week. Please stay tuned for next week. By staying tuned, I mean if you could like and subscribe to my channel, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate it. It only takes a minute to do, and it means a lot to me. And we're working towards 500 members. If I can get there, 500 subscribers, we will do a heck of a 500 subscriber giveaway. So until then, have a great, safe weekend and keep reading those comics.